Time for our featured guest. We talk a lot about unique work that Mesa does for its community. We're excited to share yet another program and then one of the amazing people behind it. Please welcome Police Liaison to the City Manager's Office, Mr. Aaron Raine. Aaron, come on up, sir. Welcome, sir. Good to have you here.
Good to be here. I was hoping for that ZZ Top or Eric Clapton they were playing earlier for my walk-up.
Well, with your name, I think we missed an opportunity for Purple Rain.
Oh, yeah. Never heard that one.
Or maybe raindrops keep falling on my head.
Well, my nickname is Rain Man, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
So it works.
Well, are you a good driver?
Not really.
Okay. Well, Aaron, tell us a little bit about, and by the way, I hope this isn't the only rain we see today. I hope we're going to get a little
Hopefully
monsoon.
more, yeah. It's been too darn hot.
Yeah, it has been too hot. Tell us, give us a little history about you, your background, what you do, how you got there, and what you're working with.
How much time do we have?
3 minutes.
So, yeah, I actually grew up in California. Came to visit Arizona over the last several years and enjoyed it. Decided to move the family out here in 2002. Worked out here for a bit. I spent most of my working career in bicycle manufacturing. Major manufacturers like Schwinn, Felt, GT bicycles. When I was out here, I continued in the bicycle industry. Decided I wanted to be a police officer. Got permission from the wife and joined the Mesa Police Department in July of 2000. So this will be my anniversary month, July of 2006.
Were you a bicycle officer?
I did bicycle officer for a bit. I've been a tactical flight officer in the air unit. I've done undercover stuff. I've done, I'm a negotiator on the SWAT team. I've been doing that since 2011. I've done intelligence detective, patrol, bikes, you name it, a potpourri of things.
Just can't
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Just can't hold a job, can you?
No, seriously. And now I'm at about a year and a half ago, I joined the city manager's office on a internship program, and then I'm still stuck there. And working on reducing homelessness for the city of Mesa. So that's my role now. I'm still technically a police officer, barely, and then I work at the executive level with city departments, nonprofits, faith-based groups, collaborating on how to reduce homelessness in Mesa.
Wow, that's great. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. We heard earlier from our community partner on that. What's the outlook for homelessness in Mesa, and what can we do to help?
Good question. So I gotta give props to Arlen. He's like my hero, and agreed. Volunteering at PAWS is an absolutely amazing experience. We do it regularly and love it. Homelessness in general is slightly down, but unsheltered homelessness is up, significantly up. And I think what you're seeing is the increase in housing costs, particularly rentals. You're seeing more and more people that were traditionally able to make it work, not able to make it work anymore. So over the last 5 years in Maricopa County, we've seen a raise of unsheltered homelessness of 175%.
Wow.
22% last year alone. So those are big numbers, and that's where we're working with partners like Paz de Cristo and Arlen is critical with the city of Mesa, and really partnering with those folks that are at the front lines and collaborating with them and making sure that they have what they need to address those needs. And
you know, I travel all over the country and you see homelessness everywhere, unfortunately, but I can't even imagine being homeless in Arizona, especially this time of year.
It'd be extremely challenging.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, yeah.
So one of the things that we did with the city to try and help reduce homelessness, it's gonna be a multi-tiered approach, but the first portion of our program was restructuring the judicial system. Traditionally, the judicial system is gonna have significant contact with the homeless population through arrests, trespassing, things like that. So what we did is we restructured police policy, and then the court itself completely rebuilt itself for this. So now, the officer at the front end can recognize a person in need, whether they have mental illness, addiction issues, homelessness, and they can refer them directly, instead of the traditional adjudication course, to this community court. And then when they're at community court, they get the opportunity, instead of incarceration, they have a navigator assigned to them that helps them navigate the process out of homelessness, get a job, and such. For example, every once in a while I do put on a uniform and pretend to be a police officer. And I was at Walmart working and arrested a person for shoplifting. And that was in November of 2018. And I was going through the data last night because we've completed our first year of community court. And over the last decade or so, he's not even 30 yet, but he had 37 arrests in Mesa alone and 104 police contacts. And so I cited him directly into community court, and I was telling him about it. And he was fairly surly and obtuse at the time that we had our contact. But when he got to court, he figured out this is a program that I can help work. And since that time, he has not been arrested once. He now has a job. He now has an apartment, and life is good for him. And when he graduated, I got to shake his hand and give him a hug and congratulate him. Wow. So, a phenomenal experience.
Oh, yeah, that's super.
And he's the one that did the hard work, not me. I just opened the door for him. And that's the key is these folks are given the opportunity to do this hard work. And it's not easy, but.
Well, and I've heard this before. Just because you're homeless doesn't mean you're hopeless. And
absolutely, that's 1,000,000% correct.
Well, thank you. And
not bad.
That just shows. I'm just not a pretty face here, Aaron.
Clearly.
Hey, don't jump on that so quickly. Well, that's great. Those are the kind of stories. I bet that really is gratifying to see somebody that's.
It is. You know, those are the days that you go to work for, the days you get to legitimately help people, because every cop signs up to help people. They want to make a difference in the community and help people. And those days you get to do that, it's truly rewarding.
That's great. What, for those, I'll ask you what I ask everybody. For those of us here or watching on TV, what can they do to help?
Good question. So we are expanding our community court. We're really trying to grow it and turn it into throughout the entire judicial system. You know, a lot of the people that we're rehabilitating need jobs and they need places to work, and a lot of times their criminal history is a hurdle. I know at the city and other places we're working on trying to find job positions where the judicial involvement isn't such an issue and get people employed. Because if I can get them employed and get them earning a sufficient wage, they're not falling into homelessness. They're not going back to the game of slinging dope and, you know, the things that are going to get them invited back to the court. Well,
and homelessness, it spawns a lot of other issues. All of a sudden, you know, you can't be healthy on the streets.
No, and that's exactly correct. You know, all of us struggle with something. We're able to keep it, you know, in check because we have a family, a roof over our head, food in our belly, a support system, a church, whatever it may be. Take all that away, and it's not that long before I'm the guy in the corner throwing rocks and you know, acting, you know, out of control. When you take all that away and there's no hope, then you know, it could be any of us. It's just, you look at it and you're like, well, they've given up. What we try and do, and for lack of a term, we have, the system has given up on them for decades. And in Mesa, what we try to do is re-look at it and figure out a better way. And that's where the community court concept came up. And that is, in the past, the judicial system, the analogy I like to use is it's like prescription glasses. Everybody gets the same prescription. Now, if that fits your prescription, then great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So when we bring the people into court, they meet with a public defender, which acts as an advisory council, and we figure out what prescription they need. What does this person need? So for some people, this could be homeless court. For some people, it could be drug court. For some people, it could be mental health court. For some, it's all three. Some, it's just whatever combination that person needs to succeed. Because in the past, they would get probation, they'd have to pass your analysis for a couple months, and their charge goes away, and they're still homeless. So what do you think is going to happen? So what we do is we try and find out what their particular needs are, and then we walk them through the process, and we try and make the steps initially very easy for them to achieve so they can get that win. And it really is a community court. These folks, there's about 600 people currently in process at community court, and they look out for each other. They help each other make their court dates. The first 100 or so that we've graduated, going back, and I was going through the data last night, accounted for well over 1,000, almost 1,500 arrests in the last decade. And since the 100 have graduated, since we started this July 2nd of last year, only 5 have been rearrested. And that's a massive shift in the recidivism. Some of them had 100 arrests.
That's awesome. And maybe while I ask this next question, we can get a microphone ready if anybody in the audience has got a question. Is there any place outside of Arizona or within Arizona that's doing it better than Mesa is? And can we learn from them, and who are they?
We look at everything we can. The difficulty is, I use this analogy too, I like to use analogies. It's like baking a cake. You have to use the ingredients in front of you. Sometimes some cities may be able to make red velvet cake, some German chocolate cake. They're all cakes. My favorite's yellow cake with chocolate frosting. But you have to work with the ingredients you have. Some have more nonprofits, some have less nonprofits, some have more faith-based groups, so you have to adjust your composite and your ingredients to what you have. The community court concept is pretty novel. It has been recognized. We got to present this at the Arizona Supreme Court to all 15 counties. This week I had Peoria there. The week before that we had Tucson. We had Tempe, and a lot of people are looking at this model because it's so much more effective than the traditional adjudication system. So in some areas, so to answer your question, some areas people may be doing things better. I'll tell you where our biggest gap is that we really struggle with is housing and housing costs as the population grows and the housing inventory hasn't grown with it. Demand is high, so what goes up? Price. So, that is our biggest challenge. So some other cities are doing better at the housing end. The community court is the back end, and that was one of our first things, was modifying the whole judicial system. Now the city is working at the front end, training programs for education to get people to move them from entry-level jobs to middle skills jobs so they can afford the housing so they don't fall into homelessness, and getting employment opportunities for folks that are coming out of homelessness so they can become self-sustainable. So that's the upstream changes we're looking to make, because what we've done now is all downstream. But we had this system that was having contact people, but we weren't really getting bang for the buck for it. So optimizing those resources was basically just restructuring. They let me break it and put it back together in a better way. But I gotta say that I'm one person in an awesome team. I get far too much credit for what's gone on. The team itself is truly remarkable. Judge Tafoya, John Bellotti from the prosecutor's office. That's really a pivotal role, the prosecutor. Meg Leal from the public defender's office, all of our nonprofits like Paz de Cristo and Mark Center and Community Bridges. Without all them, this entire system wouldn't work.
Wow, that's great. Now, unfortunately, all I'm thinking about is cake.
I like cake.
I know, you said yellow cake with chocolate frosting.
Right? Isn't that the best?
I just kind of drifted on. I was like Homer Simpson there.
Every year when my birthday comes around, my wife's like, what do you want? I'm like, yellow cake with chocolate frosting.
It's awesome.
And so she came home one day, she'd make some, waiting for it to cool and waiting for to frost it, and the whole middle was eaten out. So she goes out to the kitchen, she's like, what'd you guys do? Like, we didn't do it. My Rottweiler's sitting there with crumbs all in her whiskers. So my dog liked chocolate cake and yellow cake with chocolate frosting as well.
That's awesome. All right, I think we got a microphone. Is anybody in the audience, raise your hand if you've got a question for Aaron. And there's one. Of course, the farthest possible. Get the Fitbit going. You got your steps in. And we've got a question here toward the back of the room.
Thank you. What you're doing, I think, is amazing, and I appreciate everything. Question I have, because I have been supporting and working with seniors for 25 years, and you're hitting right on something I'm trying to focus more and more on myself, and that is the housing and all that from an aging standpoint. Do you see what you're doing going anywhere in that age group or that direction?
Really good question, and yes, the two groups we're focusing most on for the future is the elderly and the aging out foster kids. Aging out foster kids are basically set up to fail, and so that's a foregone conclusion that they're going to end up in homelessness when you look at the statistics. But what we are seeing, and it's tragic that it has a nickname, but it's in the homeless community, it's being called the silver tsunami, and that is the elderly folks on a fixed income that are being forced into homelessness because of the rental costs. When you look at the rental cost, I think the blended apartment cost was about $750 a month for a 1 to 3 bedroom apartment in 2014. Now you're talking $1,500. And so that's a massive shift. And if you're on a fixed income in retirement, that it's not sustainable. Something's going to have to give. So our primary focus moving forward on our projects that specific to housing is going to be on the elderly and the aging out foster kids to try and get those remedied first. And to be honest, it's a far more palatable clientele to work with, because if you tell the neighborhood, hey, we're going to build a recovery center here and some housing for a bunch of recovered drug addicts, are you cool with that? Everybody says no, of course, but they don't realize that this is someone's son, brother, or sister. But when you say that this is an elderly person or a foster child that's aged out, it's far more palatable. So if we can do that and get some wins there and then start building, it kind of keeps going.
That's awesome. Well, I might have overstated our amount of time. I don't think we've got time for more questions, but I do have time. Give us, look into the camera, give us a little pitch, give us your elevator pitch on what we can do and how we can all make this problem diminish.
Well, I wasn't prepared for that. I'm just kidding, I'm always prepared for that. So, like Arlen said, volunteer at those groups, you'll get the bug. I'm telling you, once you go volunteer and help work with this clientele, you'll get the bug and you want to help. You're welcome to contact me directly. My cell phone's on the city website for, if you look up Reducing Homelessness in Mesa, it has my cell phone on there. I'm happy to answer questions. You're welcome to come to community court and see what opportunities your organization might be able to provide. We're always looking for mentors, for someone, kind of like a sponsor in the AA program, where someone could reach out if they're in need and they just need someone to talk to, and then it's just, I have 500 homeless friends that I'm working with right now, and I don't have time for every single one of them. So I'm always looking for help that way. But feel free to stop by community court. We're every Monday, Wednesday at 1 p.m. Actually, 2:15 is when the court starts at courtroom 202.
Okay, well, we appreciate that. When you're not driving a police car, what do you drive? What kind of car?
I have an older BMW, and motorcycle's kind of my thing. I really like riding my motorcycle.
Well, for your Beamer, it gets dirty.
It does.
We're in the monsoon season. It's going to get nasty. So we got you covered. For being our special guest today, one of our favorite sponsors and chamber members is Cobblestone Auto Spa.
Well, thank you.
So here's a gift. It's a $100 detail card. So you can get, now is that any as an officer, can you accept a gift like that? If not, you can give it to the host.
I'll have to check with my supervisor.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, in other words, he's going to get it detailed today.
Well, I'm on camera now. So.
Take your Beamer in there. They'll spiff it up. Take your car, your vehicle of choice to any cobblestone. They're all over the valley. Every time you drive by a vacant corner on Tuesday, you go back Friday, there's a cobblestone there. So they're popping up everywhere. We thank you. Stick around. If anybody's got any questions, you can ask Aaron. And we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be a guest here on Mesa Morning Live. How about a big round of applause for Mr. Aaron Raine? Thanks, sir. Thanks for being here. Thanks.